Welcome to another episode of In the Nude.
Today, we're going to be having another naked conversation with Tim Thomas. This is a part 2, and I'm so excited. Tim is a man who's passionate about you having a great night's sleep. We talked a little bit about your backstory and how you got to sleep being important. But other than just your personal experience, why sleep in a world where there's so many ways to start? Why sleep?
Sleep is one of those things that I ask the question. Everyone knows that it's important. So why do we just step over it? And I understood why we ignore sleep when I understand human behavior. And you said this in our preamble. I wish it was recorded, but if I could give it some justice, the society we're currently in, we're in a consumer society and it wants you to consume, right? That's the goal of a consumer society. And when we overwork and we get into a state of fatigue, and often we're in a state of fatigue because we're so focused on something happening outside of us, whether it's a goal to meet at work, whether it's a family organization, whether it's whatever it is, we get so focused out there, we disconnect from here. And then when we get fatigued, we start looking, as we've always done, outside of ourselves to a solution. And often that's, on a good day of coffee, on a bad day, I used to drink a lot of alcohol. There's always the thing where I call it pouring dopamine over dysfunction. And what sleep does is have you actually spending time in yourself with yourself. And that is not something that people regularly choose. Whether they know it or not, we're so externally focused. Or if I'm working with corporates, I'll explain it in the performance pyramid. Top of the pyramid, you're achieving what you want in the external world. Money, possessions, relationships. Everyone sees it. People often applaud it, and you get a sense of self-worth. And that's the thing. If we have our sense of self-worth outside of us, then we become a slave to it. So in war, so my background is special forces, we always used to find the enemy's center of gravity. And ironically, in Afghanistan, we used to deliberately attack the enemy's sleep, not because we knew the science of sleep. We just knew if we could take it out for 3 nights, it would mess them up better than a bullet. And that was their center of gravity. Now, my observation of humans is our center of gravity is our sense of self-worth. And the top of the performance pyramid, there's nothing wrong with going after physical stuff, but if you have it attached to your sense of self-worth, then we start saying, I'm worth something when I'm doing something because of this thing. If I'm not doing something, if I don't have that thing, then I'm not worth anything. So guess what? This is where sleep gets destroyed, because when we're doing nothing, there's a message that goes off in our head. I'm doing nothing. That means I am nothing. Just let that land for a second.
I know. I want you to say it again.
So because we get a sense of self-worth from what we do, and there's nothing wrong with that, but if it's all out there and not in here, the imbalance shows up when we slow down and do nothing. Because when there's this little thought that goes off that says, when we're doing nothing, we are nothing. And so that's why sleep gets destroyed, and it's collectively accepted that we don't do that, because we're always looking out there for a sense of self. We're often looking out there for a sense of self-worth.
Yeah. I liked your line that you said in the middle, but I didn't want to interrupt because you're in the middle of the flow, is you said, sleep is one of the only times that we are with ourselves, because we don't often choose to be with ourselves. And I loved that way of viewing sleep. It's a very truthful way of viewing sleep, because I had never put it in that perspective. Because when you go to lay down, people will often complain about overthinking, right? But most of the time, if they're overthinking and they think of it as overthinking, the question I always want to ask is, when today did you give yourself time to think? Because is it overthinking or is it just thinking? And so that's one of the only times where you slow down and be with yourself. And sometimes that's not even when you're going to sleep, because you might be listening to something, trying to distract yourself because you don't want to think or overthink during the time frame, but actually sleeping. That was so good.
So yeah, it's if you want a society to be very easily manipulated and buy stuff they don't need, keep them fatigued and have it acceptable. And if they do say, hey, I can't sleep, because that's what I did, and I lost 6 years of my life to pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
And I'm not anti-pill, but no one told me that
They're
breathwork,
alternative. Yeah.
that breathwork could shut your brain and body down better than the pills. It could bring anti-inflammation, could bring healing. There's all these other health benefits that no one's making money from, so you don't really hear about it. But also, they're so quick to throw pills at you, but no one tells you the cost of taking them.
Mm.
It's like getting, you're low on energy, and energy is like money. How you invest it is how you get it back. And if you're spending money like you've got a bottomless supply, you end up being broke, right? And being energetically broke is being fatigued. And it's like hanging out with a bunch of broke people. It's just normal to, be scratching a few dollars together, right? This is what the fatigue epidemic is like. We just don't see it because we're in this collective hypnosis. So when you're in a tight spot living pay to pay and says, look, I'll give you $1,000. Yeah, I'll take $1,000. This is the pharmaceuticals, right? But then they say, you've got to pay back $2,000 next week. So look, I'm not even thinking about next week. I need $1,000 now, and
Hmm.
then it keeps on putting you further in debt, and you need more loans to cover the interest to cover. And, before you know it, all your own mechanisms get completely shut down. And like I said, I'm not anti-pill. I think it's the lesser of two evils at times, but also people need to know that no one tells you the cost of taking them. No one tells you how hard it is to get off of them, and it's a bit like a chemical cast. If something breaks, yeah, you need a bit of support there, but one day it's going to come off and you've got to develop your own muscles back again. And so the fatigue and sleep improvement has just become I didn't want it. This wasn't my calling per se. Being dyslexic, I see things in patterns. And I've been working with veterans in extreme states of fatigue for over a decade. And we just noticed that if we could improve sleep, then all these other metrics would improve. Okay.
Yeah.
And all these other symptoms, people are willing to take pills for, but they're not actually looking at the underneath problem. So fun fact, sleep deprived people have a 200 to 300% more likelihood of having a mental injury, a mental illness.
Hmm.
And like, so I read that as, okay, so if we can restore fatigue, they're going to get 200 to 300% better. So this is, but the thing is, it wasn't until I was in a very vulnerable position that I realized that we're not in an age of information. We're in an age of marketing. The first 6 pages of Google are marketers. Now,
Yeah.
and I might have touched on this in the previous podcast, but I just want to sort of share how important these sort of conversations are, because there's a lot of people out there that see that, there's a society of fatigued people. Here's how I can make money from it, as opposed to, well, there's nothing wrong with making money, but I'm actually going to give them what they really are paying for, and that is quality sleep, you know? Um, and so when I was hurting and I needed help, and these people promised and then they didn't deliver, in fact, it made things worse. I'm like, well, I'm never going to do that again. And so I thought, well, if I'm ever in a position of to be able to give back, I understand that you've got to be 100% authentic, because people that are hurting have a bullshit radar 1,000 miles long. And before we could, like, my experience with veterans, and this is no different, veterans are humans too. So it's the same thing elsewhere. So when I say veterans, that's just my pathway into this realization. It's not just the fatigue. Fatigue is a result of pain making you feel like you're alone in what you're doing. And when we feel all alone and I can't drop my guard, everything's a threat because everything is a threat, that makes you fatigue, and one feeds the other. The more fatigued you are, the more you can't drop your guard, the more you got to, I'll bugger it. I'll just put alcohol over everything at the end of the day, right? That just makes sense. Somehow my car ended up at the bottle-o at the alcohol shop.
Score. Yeah.
In Australia, we call them bottle-os. And look, I just, I can get through another night. So this is why I'm doing what I'm doing now, not because I ever saw myself as a goal, but I just saw the effectiveness of it. I saw no one's doing it. And because I feel like, call it spirit, put me through this journey. And it's actually very easy to tap people into their own, breath to change their state very rapidly.
Yeah.
I remember at the end of the last episodes, the camera stopped and I said, I want to give you a little something to try in the mornings, where you could just breathe a certain way to enhance what you're doing. How did you go with that?
Oh my gosh. Literally the next day after you showed me this thing, and we can go through it in just a second, but I did it the next day in bed. I'll have you, the only part that was a little bit hard was the muffled, you put your hand over your thing and make a loud
Yeah.
noise through your hand. I had to be careful with that one because I had a small child sleeping next to me. But the difference between just taking deep breaths, which normally makes me feel fairly alive and fairly centered and grounded and peaceful, this had all of that, but it also had energized. And usually that energized that I get is the feeling when you invest in something that you super love. So for me, it's making other people feel loved. It's connecting with another soul who loves people. So like this moment right now, hyper energized for me. Me complimenting a grocery store clerk on the fact that they have really pretty eyes and they actually receive it, fantastic, energized for me. Taking those breaths in the morning was like doing 3 compliments to somebody level of energized inside of my body. And I have proceeded to do that most mornings. I love how much it not only gives all of the things of standard deep breaths, but it also gives you the, all right, let's do this energy. It's, I was, I was blown away when I did it the first time in the thing. And the fact that it status quo each time I do this exercise, which at this point I feel like we should probably do to showcase it. I feel extremely energized on the other side of it. So why don't you walk us through it and I will model and that way you don't have to stop
Well,
talking.
let's not step over something here because
Okay.
when you did that for yourself, did you subscribe to a, you know, a $300 a month subscription program to improve your health?
Oh, no. No, I
No.
sat with you for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You showed me something.
Anyone else do this for you? Did you pay someone to do this for you?
No,
No.
no, it was simple and it only took a couple minutes.
So this is the joy of discovering how amazing our bodies are built, because the world we live in, the economy we live in, doesn't want us to discover just how amazing our bodies are. And it's a bit like, okay, so if you saw a sign, like money's important, right? And a lot of people are driven by it. But if we saw a sign saying free money, we'd be like, no, 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 right? Not a chance. Okay. But, energy is important too. And if we see a sign saying free energy, we're like, nah, that's bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, come on,
Yeah,
no, right?
yeah.
And there's signs up in your own body. There's signs up saying free energy in nature, but we're like, no, it doesn't work like that. So what I'm really glad and we're about to sort of give people a taste of is just the free energy that's in our own bodies. And once you have your eyes open to this, there's no closing them again. And this is my great joy to introduce people to just how amazing they were built. Because once you get this, they're like, there's all this stuff that we chase out there that goes, you know what? I can give this to myself.
Oh,
I can still, pursue my goals in the world. But
yeah.
before I leave the house, I've given myself the peace, the power, the connection, the sense of satisfaction. That's under my skin already. So I'm so glad, because a lot of people go, yeah, but you actually did it. So that's a credit to you. Okay. And the people listening right now are in your slipstream. You've just made it easier because you've actually, this isn't just some guy with a strange accent, talking about it, on the other side of the world. This is something that actually has worked. So everything with breath, and especially our bodies, is an invitation. Okay. And so my invitation to yourself, Rachel, and to
Mhm.
everyone listening is, do you give permission to your own breath to make every single cell in your body feel really, really good?
Yes,
Awesome.
emphatically.
Fantastic. I love it. That was easy. 2 more questions. Rachel, and people listening, do you give permission to your own breath to make your conscious thinking mind feel really, really good?
Yes, definitely.
Awesome. Last one. Rachel, and those listening, do you give permission to your very own breath to make your unconscious mind feel really, really good?
Yes, definitely.
Fantastic. Now, this is as easy as breathing, but I'm going to show you how to reach the top 3% of your breath. Okay. So, the top 3% of people have a certain performance people have a certain set of habits. And so I'm going to show you how to reach the top parts of your breath to give you that experience that you haven't had before, because we've been breathing our whole life. So really simple. All I'm going to get you to do is when we blow it out, we're going to shake it out. We're going to shake our bodies as we blow it out. And then we're going to take a rapid inhale through the nose with our mouth closed, and we're going to look up. Breathe in, and we're going to hold. Okay? And I'll explain what to do after that, step at a time.
Okay.
So I invite you and those listening, provided you're in a safe place, you're not driving or cutting up carrots, to
Please, yes. No knives involved.
blow it out and shake it out. Blow it out, shake it out. Out, 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 out. And you'll be surprised how much you can blow out, 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 out. And once you're all the way out, mouth closed, rapid inhale through the nose. Open, open, open. Breathe in more, 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 more. Now hold it and just stretch and wriggle your shoulders, stretch and wriggle your hands, turn your wrists around the place in circles, wriggle your spine, wriggle your spine, wriggle your spine. Now with your hand, put it over your mouth, and let out a really loud yawn.
Yeah.
And just let that energy circulate, because that's your sovereign energy. No one gave it to you. You gave it to yourself. This is you pouring into your own cup. And if that felt good, that is just the first part of this. So you probably noticed, Rachel, when you breathed in and breathed in more, you sort of felt the top third of your lungs opening up. Okay. I'll call that your secondary inhale. Most people breathe here, primary. This is your secondary. So what we're going to do right now is just to get a feel for this, I want you to these in your hands. A lot of people don't know that they've got these power buttons. So when you pinch your two thumbs and fingers together firmly, that gives your secondary inhale a boost. So we're just going to play with this before we do the full thing. Just try and breathe out, and then when you breathe in, go and just play with that. And notice how you can hit those buttons, and it sort of gives the muscles that give you that secondary inhale even more boost. Do you just notice that? Like, just from a standing start, just go. Yeah, fantastic. All right. So these little power buttons are going to help us on our next inhale. All right. And we're going to breathe in and kind of arch back. And the idea is to rapidly breathe in. So before I was in the Special Forces, I was a professional fighter. And my coach always used to say, Tim, before you do a combination, because you're quite fatigued when you're in a ring, he said, Tim, snort your nose, because that sucks air over the sinuses straight into your brain. Now, I don't know if that was based in science, but it worked in combat. Okay. And the other fact about our nose, plain as the nose of my face, and if you're looking at my nose, it kind of looks funny the more you look at it, right? It kind of looks why do we just have this strange thing in our face, right? But this nose here is the only place where a particular gas is created. We don't get it created through our mouth. Okay, now this gas does a lot of things.
Okay.
If I went to the chemist, imagine going to the chemist or the pharmacy or the health food shop and say, look, I want something that improves my mood. I want something that improves my circulation, boosts my immunity, improves sexual function, and helps me work out better and recover faster. How much do you think you'd pay for
to have all of those together?
all of those things? Yeah.
Well, first off, your insurance wouldn't cover it.
Yeah.
Gosh, all of those in one. One, if they actually delivered, that price tag is going to be 200 plus.
Yeah. The gas that I'm talking about is called nitric oxide, and they used to give that to athletes to improve their performance. And there was a bunch of other benefits to taking it, but nitric oxide improves immunity, improves brain function, mood regulation, performance. It's a vasodilator. It helps, the crops get irrigated because it's improving circulation. Okay. And it's only produced when we, breathe through our nose. Okay. Not when we mouth breathe. And without sounding dramatic, if you only ever mouth breathe, you're going to die early. And so one of the reasons why on my bed head I've got these little bits of tape before I go to sleep is to access this. Okay? And a lot of people don't know that your sinuses are a muscle group and they can be strengthened. So the first night when I taped my mouth to breathe through my nose, I'm like, nah, stuff this. And I got rid of it in a few minutes. And then, the next night was a few more minutes. And then weeks later, this muscle group had strengthened. Now, there's all sorts of things you can do to help you breathe better at night. And that can be a problem. But I don't see anyone showing people the free stuff, which is firstly strengthening your sinuses, okay, and breathing through your nose. Because and it even gets to the point where for thousands of years, Chinese have been saying that they call the nose heaven's gate. Okay. And modern science has found out that if you breathe through a particular nostril, you activate a certain nervous system, right? Who knew? It's like on tap. So let's just do this for fun. All right.
Okay.
So let's say we want to go to sleep. Show me your right thumb. So you want to go to sleep right. Okay.
I
You
want to
got
go to
that?
sleep right. Yeah.
Okay. And so put the right thumb on the right nostril and then breathe in through your left nostril. And notice how you breathe in and out properly when the air is a little bit restricted. So what we're doing is we're accessing our PNS, parasympathetic nervous system. Okay. You know how many drugs we take to access parasympathetic nervous system? All right. You know how much alcohol I used to drink to access that stuff? So if I want to go to sleep right, I will right thumb, right nostril, blow it out, blow it out. And you can really, when you blow it out through one nostril, you can sort of feel that you can exhale more because there's a bit of positive pressure there, right?
Yeah.
So before I start spending the episode talking like this is going to be a really good episode.
Yes.
If we were to wake up in the morning, you've got to get out of the right side of the bed, right? Today, we're going to get out of the left side of the bed. So not the right side, but the left side. So I'm just saying that. I've never said, I'm just giving you something to remember, right?
Remember,
So
yeah.
if you cover your left thumb, left nostril, you breathe through the right nose, this is your sympathetic nervous system. Like if you want to focus your mind, get going, this is the thing to access. So getting out of bed. Yeah.
So I not only want to use this as a hack going to sleep and waking up, but there are time frames as a person who struggles with focus. I have neurospiciness, right? I'm going to use left brain when I'm like struggling and I really need to get focused, hyping that in. Thank you.
Everyone has a pharmacy on their own face. I call it the face pharmacy. Once you know that and you start accessing it, the things outside of you become more and more redundant. You don't have to have these things. So what I'm trying to say here is, and I've sort of tangented a bit from the initial thing, but I'm going there. So what I'm trying to say is breathing through your nose and that rapid inhale, that's boosting the nitric oxide. So when I go for a run these days, I'm only ever I use it for running for me is just a nitric oxide medicine. Okay. So I'm always, and if you really want to go there, just look at my mouth. I'm opening. I call this one when I'm getting physically active, chewing air. So when I'm running, look what I'm doing with my jaw. When I breathe in, I open it and I'll exaggerate it so you can see my cheeks pulling in. And then when I'm breathing out, so just try that with the pressure in your own lungs and the pressure in your own mouth. You can sort of play back and forth. Now you don't have to blow your cheeks out, but just pressurize it with your jaw.
Yeah. Okay.
So use that pressure inside your mouth to then help pump your lungs. You got that?
Yeah.
And you can I can kind of feel it, kind of feel a bit light right now. That's why I mostly do it when I'm physically active, because I'm really trying to work those lungs. So I'm not just using my diaphragm, I'm using a pressure play between my mouth and my lungs, because air responds to pressure. We use the nature of air to help us breathe properly. You work with the air's nature, and the air loves that, right?
Yeah.
And we are wonderful recipients of that. So that's just a little something for when if you're wanting to sort of max out your sinuses and breath, and your lungs actually change their circulation when you breathe through your nose. It took me about 6 weeks of running with my nose closed, with my mouth closed, for then it felt like when I run now, my lower abdomen turns into a furnace, because all the blood is rushing to that area to increase the gas exchange. But if I'm just going like that, then I'm really not letting my lungs do what they're supposed to do. And so a lot of, athletes, a lot of mixed martial artists, you'll see them mouth closed, breathing through the nose because they know that's how they self-regulate. That's the beauty of the nose. And now that everybody, and I want to acknowledge everyone for listening right now because you've actually got something that you're going to have for the rest of your life. Okay. Permanency for me is the key because if you care about somebody, you got to care. You can't just be good now. They've got to have access to stuff, tomorrow, next week, next year. So I'm really glad and thank you for holding the space for this. So getting back to the original, now that we've spoken about the nose and how good it is, when we blow it out and shake it out, have your power buttons ready and then breathe in and then halfway through, hit those buttons and open and then wriggle, wriggle, wriggle. But then we're going to hold our breath, wriggle, 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 and then we're going to wriggle it down low. We're going to wriggle it from our top to our middle to our bottom. And our air is going to be pushed down low, and then we're going to go, okay, and just practice putting your hand on your mouth and stopping the air coming out. So when you make that noise, see how it sort of dampens the sound or it tamps the sound. So you can make a bit of noise, but if you stop the air coming out, air carries the sound, right? So I can yell really loud, but if I stop that, you might hear the air coming out of my fingers, but I'm just saying, try and restrict the air coming out so that way you can make that sound for longer.
Yeah.
Cool. And so we'll do it a few times. You don't have to get it right. Just go through it. And so with your power buttons ready, and we've given permission to make our breath feel our body's really good, our mind really good, and our unconscious mind really good. Blow it out, shake it out, blow it out, shake it out. Out. And then when you're ready, start breathing in, hit those power buttons, open, 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 open. Now hold it and just wriggle your shoulders, open that chest, feel how that's opening, feel how like the sun is coming in, your chest is opening like a flower. And then holding your breath, just let your head fall forward, let your head fall forward, put one hand on your belly, and then one hand on your mouth. Open that jaw. Keep that jaw open like this.
Yeah.
So we'll do that a few more times. Cool. So we're not going to try and breathe faster. We're going to try and breathe longer. So really long. Out, 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 out. All the way out. Breathing in. Hit those power buttons. Snort the nose. Open, open, open. Now stretch your shoulders. Feel that chest opening up like a flower. Feel the sun coming in and the flower is loving that sun. And then just wriggle it down low, one hand on your belly, one hand on your mouth. And when it's pushed down low, let it out with a really big.
You might feel like a psycho doing this, but man, oh man, if you do it 3 times, I'm telling you, it's magic.
Yeah. Last one. No height nor depth to this. The more we do this, the deeper we go, the better we'll feel. Blow it out, shake it out. Blow it out, shake it out. Out, 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 out. And then when you're ready, breathe in, hit those power buttons, open, lengthen, open, open more than you've ever opened. Feel that sunshine coming in through the chest. That chest is opening like a flower. And then gently just start wriggling it down low, wriggle it down low, wriggle it down low, wriggle it down low. One hand on your mouth, one hand on your belly. And when you're ready, let out the juiciest yawn ever.
Oh my gosh. I too used to consume alcohol as a way of escape for trying to dull things. What makes me laugh so hard is I spent a decent amount of money on alcohol when what happened to my body with alcohol is I took it because I was feeling anxious or I was feeling nervous or scared or sad and I wanted to escape. And what I found, and eventually stopped drinking alcohol because I found that even, like not while I'm having it, but the next day, I'd have a heightened and increased level of anxiety. I'd have a heightened level of not feeling like I could deal with my life. I'd have a heightened level of, I need that to be able to function. I also found that I wasn't sleeping as well and all of these things. I find it so funny. I lived that way for years because I was sleep deprived, because I was in fight or flight, because I felt alone. This was here the whole damn time for free. And I don't get awakened by coffee, but how people talk about when they drink coffee and they feel awake, this-ish, if you didn't try it, I beg, just for today, try it. And then if you feel nice, only then consider doing it for tomorrow. And then just for tomorrow. Doesn't have to be a commitment for always, but holy forking shirt balls, Batman. I wish I had known about this free thing years ago. It is crazy. I'm definitely taking your right side, go to sleep, get out of the left side of the bed.
Yeah,
It's
fantastic.
happening. I
And
appreciate the moniker.
well, let's check in with our bodies. How is our bodies feeling?
Yeah. Right now, my low stomach feels hollow, but like in when you eat something that feels great in your body, like for me, it's like a smoothie or it's a lightly sauteed or grilled vegetable. It sits in you and you feel like satiated, but you don't feel full. You don't feel heavy. You feel like you could go run or play or jump and it's fine, right? It's like that type of empty, hollow, but full and light in my stomach. My chest and shoulders feel like someone has done acupressure release on them, if you've ever had that happen, right here in the front. My head, earlier today, you can tell, I got wrinkles here. I have a tendency to go, right here, I feel relaxed, whereas a lot of the times I don't. I feel energized. Like it feels like it would be after I just had an 18-hour sleep kind of day. Woke up and I'm like, let's do this. I feel a light tingle, but like not in a bad way, like a anticipation, excitement on the bottom part of my stomach, like right at the front. And often I'll have my muscles will clench and release when I'm in a place of talking, right? And it isn't it as a place of, I think that there's something unsafe about you, but it's something about knowing that I'm going to be in front of people that puts my body aware of that. And right now it's like, it's just you and me. And this is never going to go, like, it's just completely safe in my body. I could probably keep going, but like, I feel like that's enough noticing.
No.
Well,
You spoke to that so well. It's such a blessing that you are not just body sensitive, but your ability to articulate that. A lot of people have their bodies doing that, but because
yeah,
we're so out there, we don't know, and that tension builds up,
yeah.
and you don't register. For me, I just knew I had to drink half a carton of grog at the end of the day because we had all these points, and I notice now that if I can go through my day, and it doesn't mean that things aren't going to stress you and things aren't
Oh,
going to
no,
sort of
no.
knock you off your center, but it does mean that we can put ourselves back to center sooner. I'm not low as long and I'm not as destructive. So
Yeah.
if we can be the ones, I mean, consider what would life be like if we could be the ones to give ourselves the release of tension, the shoulder feeling good, the stomach feeling good, the energy being balanced. Imagine if we could what would life be like if we could do that for ourselves?
This is a beautiful, tangible do. I found in the beginning of my healing journey, I really, really, really wanted do's because I was used to do. I was used to-do lists. I was used to getting it done, assignments. I knew how to act. That was me. And people would talk about being, right? Like you need to be, you need to sit, that part I couldn't do. But I needed do's. And I honestly didn't find a lot of really tangible, practical things to apply. Breathwork I did, not this, but just in general breathing. And so that was a do I could do. Getting outside, that was a do I could do. But this pointed, particular, actually understanding, not just taking a deep breath, because the only thing I was ever told really was box breathing, which is the whole breathe in, hold
Oh,
it,
yeah.
breathe out, hold it. And that's not bad. It has its place. This is like box breathing is a happy meal. Okay. It gives you some help. This is a gourmet meal. That's the difference to me in how my body feels. Because box breathing helps. It does help and is a great place to start. Or even just the whole idea of exhale longer than you inhaled. Great place to start. But it's a happy meal. versus a gourmet meal and how it makes your body feel.
Well, Rachel, how many breaths did we take then?
It was 3.
So we took less than 5 breaths and we got all these benefits.
Yeah. How much more
Okay.
so?
Well, when I spend imagine doing the breath work for, the right way for 10 minutes, 20 minutes. When I take people for an hour, we go places words can't give expression to, because we go
Yeah.
places and experience parts of ourselves that existed before we were speaking and thinking as humans. Okay. The reason why breath work is so powerful is that it's ancient wiring that existed before speaking and thinking. Okay. And it outranks the thinking mind. Now, the thinking mind knows this, so it fights to stay in control. So that's why it's so important to give permission, because the thinking mind likes to stay in control and doesn't, and knows that if it's in a stressed out state, it's always valued. It's always a member of the team. But
Yeah.
if you're breathing, you actually show it. You're actually the new kid. You're supposed to be part of the team. You're not the leader. The ancient wisdom is here. So this is where breath has such a profound, immediate, and natural impact, because it existed before we got lost in this world of thoughts and speaking.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful.
It gives me confidence too in sharing it with others, because it's not something, um,
You
Tim
created or
invented.
crafted.
It's just something I've discovered, and it's a bit like, in Australia, we have a lot of solar panels, and a smart solar panel will follow the sun all day. It's always changing its axis, right? It's a
Yeah.
bit like Spirit gave us free will, so we can point our solar panels anywhere we like. We could point them at a pair of sand shoes to give ourselves our sense of self-worth, right?
Yeah.
But what a master will do, they'll realize, look, I'm not the sun, but I've spent the time to line up to a very energetic angle of receivership.
Yeah.
And for me, breath allows me to have people access that angle of receivership very rapidly, and they
Yeah.
get they get the best chance they have to see that all the things that they're actually looking for outside of themselves are actually inside of themselves.
So twice now you've taken this principle that I love because I found it very true in my life. Earlier you're talking about the mechanism of gas and transferring from the top to the bottom by using compression, using the power that wants to, like, using the power how it wants to be used. And just now you're talking about the sun, and it's not that you have to have that power, you just have to use that power and flow with that power. I have found the idea, whether it's fighting, right? If someone's coming at you, instead of trying to fight the power that they've come at you, you just help them go the direction they wanted to go, and then you get on top of them. That just using their own, you don't have to use your power. You can use their power, borrow it and exchange it, just simply by allowing them to flow where they already wanted to go and just letting their power take you over on top of them. And it takes practice to learn how to do that in martial arts, and it takes practice to do that in life. But if you can see where something is pushing you to go, instead of fighting it, if you see that as the fuel, as the gas, as the means, and you just allow it to keep going, but you decide to ride it. A great personal example of myself is, right, said last time, I'm in the midst of a really hard loss right now, right? And I'm giving this as an example because I'm not saying I have it figured out, but it's something that I've been practicing, and that's why I'm sharing. I have a lot of sadness. I have a lot of hurt at a loss that's happening in my life, right? And I can sit there and I could fight it and I could be like, oh, this shouldn't have happened, and be all angry. And that's fair and that's fine. Or I can say, I don't like these feelings. I'm just going to pretend they don't exist. And I'm just going to look over here because over here is nicer and it doesn't have sadness. It doesn't have anger. And those are hard things. Or instead of fighting the emotion or instead of fighting what's happening, for me personally, something I'm practicing is surrendering to it. So instead of saying sadness is a sad thing and this bad thing, embracing the fact that I am in it, and it's a signal saying I want something nice for myself, and that's loving. And allowing the discomfort to ride over and push past me like it wants to, embrace it, and then it leaves. And allowing the anger to exist saying, you deserve better. Yes. Let it and let it go. Allowing the grief to not be something that has to be not felt or something that has to exist and take over my world. It can be something that is, but also other things are too. So my sadness doesn't have to be something that derails my life. It's something that I can embrace and be with. And it can also fuel the fact that I have proof of how much I love myself. My grief can exist, but I also can be content with the fact that if I had it once, then I'm possible to have it again. And if I had it once and it left, that doesn't mean a sorrow or a bad thing will happen. It means I've learned from that. And then I've opened and I've created a space in my life for something even better to come, so long as I'm the person who's constantly looking at myself and caring for myself instead of trying to grasp for it over there, like you were saying. If I'm trying to reach out from myself to say, I need that again, but instead say, I already am that. So right now, I had to lose a really close friend, right? And it stinks, but it was the right choice for them. So as much as I can have all these feelings, I am so elated they made the right choice for them, even if it cost me something. And I can look at that and say, that was a great friendship. Fantastic. I love it. And I want more of that feeling. I'm going to provide that for myself. I'm going to exist with myself and see it. It isn't denying something happened. It's embracing it and moving with it. And you've just so perfectly shown how that just completely, if you just embrace the idea of the uncomfortable thing of just going with the energy that is coming at you, instead of thinking it's going to annihilate you, instead of thinking I've got to be a wall, it's going to hit and it's going to hurt so bad, I've got to withstand it, instead of doing that, if you just pick up your feet and let the current take you, it'll probably transport you exactly where you want to go. You just got to ride it and look for the exit. It's such a powerful thing, what you're teaching. It's such a tangible, practical assistance for someone to take.
So, Rachel, I kind of knew this would happen because I know my observation of you is you're a bit of an oracle, right? And oracles speak to the level they're connected or often the level they're blocked. And I just knew that after we did that little breathwork technique, you would come out with some absolute gold, and you did, and it was awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that.
I feel blessed.
And you notice this is what we just did.
Yeah.
We created a space and you flowed.
Yes.
If I was to try and get in the way of that, that would interrupt this beautiful, natural state of channel, call it channeling, call it, we're a vessel for the divine, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, I think people, if they're smart, should wind back maybe 10 minutes and listen to that again, because Rachel's done a very wonderful, ornate tapestry of language around the fact that we're looking in the wrong place if we're feeling pain, and it's usually outside of our own skin. No.
I've often looked at my life and what is like it needs to change. When usually
this is the thing, we don't often we think it's our thoughts, but who knows that someone else has got an idea that we've taken on that, oh, my life is supposed to look like this. And I'm just running it off that belief system, not challenging that belief system. Everything outside of me saying, yeah, no, you have to do it this way and have it like that and have this and that.
Yeah. And I'm not a unique or fantastic person. I think the only thing that is unique about me is the fact that when I see something that changes how I feel, whether it's food or breathwork or a person, I don't forget it. I want more of it. I want to explore it. I want to know why. I get introspective.
Yeah,
And
I
I
can
think
see you're very aware of your blockages, but also how to transmute them. And if you find something that actually transmuted those blockages, then your heart of service says, I've got to share this with others. If I'm speaking to veterans, I'll say it very clearly. You might not think you're special, but I bet you've been through some shit. And our job isn't to stay in the shit, but to turn that shit into fertilizer.
Mm-hmm.
The stinkiest shit becomes the best fertilizer. It's actually there to help everything grow. And that shit, if you're living it, it doesn't look like tomatoes and cucumbers and the best fruit you've ever had. No, it can't stay like that. the choices you make become that most fruitful thing. And who knows, maybe the shit that you went through, how many other people are in the same situation? Maybe the 10 years it took you to turn that shit into the best tasting fruit ever, you could help them do in far less time.
Yeah, completely true. And I love the beauty of taking breath work and creating this path, because you're pointing to me having this oracle moment when all I did and all I have done is start. And so the person who's listening to this, all they have to do is start. Start small, start where they are, start where they can, and start with something free. Take your breath and be purposeful with it. Take your breath and feel and get curious. It feels weird to start examining your body when you're doing something, but the more you get aware of it in a moment where you feel safe like this, where you're taking these breaths, when you're in a different scenario and all of a sudden you feel like, oh, you're going to notice when your body pulls back and you're going to start being like, oh, maybe I should listen to that. And the more I found that I listen to because our bodies are smart. Think about a kid. Think about a kid. In a scenario, you'll see them adapting naturally without much thought because they know their body knows how to keep them safe, even if it's a negative thing they're having to switch to. And it's just tapping into that. And you're helping people do that in a tangible, I'm just like, I want to come and I want to sit with you for an hour and I want to feel what that feels like.
And thank you so much for your kind words. Like I said, life gets a lot easier when you're working with universal truths and universal powers. So for those people that are wondering why breathwork is so powerful, all the different elements have natures to them. Fire burns, air breathes. But the other little thing about air is, again, this is me being dyslexic. I see the obvious. Air can't be held. You can't hold the air. All right. That's one of the natures of air. So when we breathe correctly, we take on the nature of air. The breath doesn't allow us to hold on to our physical tension. It doesn't allow us to hold on to our mental tension. Okay, so removing those blockages from your body, from your mind, guess what? We can dial into signal. Okay, I don't see this as a body. This is a radio. Who I am is the signal. I'm not this body. I am the signal. And my body, if I dial it in properly, I can tap into who I truly am and then speak that truth. And if I can help others take on that nature of air and they can dial into who they are, life gets a whole lot better.
I want people to pause and just listen back to what you said about the nature of air. I want them to really sit with what you're saying and the power of who they are and the power of their body, because I found my path nowhere near yours. Completely different journey. Same truths. I have found if you can get a person, just even for a second, to see how powerful and amazing and beautiful they are, the entire world changes in that instant. It is like seeing sunlight for the first forking time. It is magic. And what's stupid is the person who's listening to this right now doesn't believe it. But you are magic. And that is why you can feel so amazing after breath work. Because all it's doing is taking off what isn't you and leaving you sitting there in the beauty of the energy and who you are. You're opening yourself up to not what you've taken on, not what you've had to deal with, but you. And that is one of the most powerful doorways I've ever seen to getting somebody from not believing to feeling it. And if you can get somebody to feel it, really sit with that, you can get them addicted to how magical they are. And that's the best addiction you can ever have.
Big fan of getting high on your own supply.
Yes, I love that. Oh my gosh, I'm writing that down.
I want to ask you something, Rachel.
Feel free.
With what you've experienced with the element of air,
Yeah.
would you like to take this relationship to the next level?
Yes, please.
Got it. Well, elements can be combined. All
Okay.
right. So we had a chat before we started and we said, well, look, if it's appropriate and it's going in the right direction, I'd like to sort of give people more access to their own incredible forms. The way we were built is amazing. We all own bodies, but we just don't know what they do. And believe me, they do more than just carry your eyeballs around and look at your phone. They do more than that. Okay. And we're mammals. And
Hmm.
we have the same reactions to going underwater as whales and dolphins. They're mammals too. Our whole body creates this cascade of chemical reactions and physical change when we trip our mammalian dive reflex. Okay. A lot of people feel very relaxed around water, looking at water, being in water. I know you're one of those people that love being in water, feeling that what they call hydrostatic pressure, feeling that embrace of the water. But what I'm going to show you right now is one way, very easy way, accessible way to access that chemical reaction to trip your mammalian dive reflex, to have your body responding a little bit like it's underwater without actually being underwater. Would you be open to that?
Yes, please.
Fantastic. Because like I said, for over a decade, I've been showing people how to, especially veterans, because when you are underwater, your mammalian dive reflex, rest and digest, is parasympathetic. Sympathetic is your fight or flight.
Yeah.
Okay. You're literally switching your brain from your amygdala, which is fight or flight, it's fast but dumb, to your prefrontal cortex, where you can see it from the satellite picture. And so these veterans, they didn't know what was going on, because what actually happens, your body mechanically changes the way the blood circulates. And
Yeah.
it changes the way your brain circulates. So when you're underwater and the mammalian dive reflex kicks in, it literally lobotomizes the part of your brain that is there for stress. Okay.
Okay.
And these guys would say, for the first time in forever, I just wasn't hearing the noise in my head. I wasn't hearing the this and the that. The body knew what to do. You don't have to do anything other than give your body the environment for it to happen. So earlier today, I asked you to get a little cooler of ice cubes.
Huh?
What we're going to do is to trigger your mammalian dive reflex, you don't need to get your whole body in the water, although that's nice. I'm going to show you an easy way to access, because the thing is giving people easy options. That's the key. We're going to
Achievable.
do a little activity now where between our eyebrows, there's this little starfish shaped gland that tells your body when you're underwater. This is the thing that activates your mammalian dive reflex. And what we're going to do is grab a piece of ice and we're going to hold it there. And I encourage you, you can put it, if you're happy with a few drops on you, or you can get a tea towel or a napkin or a tissue, to put it on there, whatever works for you. We're just going to hold it there. I went to my ice bath, which is just outside my door, and I got a piece of ice. It doesn't have to be this big or bodacious, right?
Yeah. Mine
But
is
we're going to
very
hold
tiny.
it perfect, okay, and have the flat side down. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. And we hold it there and we just breathe through our nose. In fact, let's get our right finger and just put it over our right nose, right nostril, and then breathe in. And when you breathe in, I invite you to picture breathing in through that place where the ice is. And I invite you to notice where you feel tension in your body, because the ice will search your body and look for tension. Okay. And so breathe in and relax. And you'll notice the more you relax and let go, the more the ice can get into all those places and heal you. It's like it's like it's showing you where your tension is. And so breathe into that, let it relax you and let it take you on a bit of a journey. Let your body guide you. Just stay with your breath. And there'll come a point where that discomfort from the ice, you'll just pop through it. The circulation will adjust and allow your body to take you on a journey with the elements of breath and ice. We're going to do this. Ignore the time. I'll keep my eye on the time. but just let these two elements take you on a journey, wherever that is. Now, with 3 more deep, slow breaths, show gratitude for the journey you've been on. Allow your body to thank these elements. Be grateful in all those parts and those muscles and bones and sinew. Feel grateful for that access to this place that was always inside of you. You just needed access. And then on your last breath, just take a really deep breath in and send your love, energy, and gratitude, and gently place the ice.
Wow. I didn't feel exorbitantly stressed before I started. I felt pretty relaxed, especially after the breathing before. But I noticed as I was breathing with the ice on my forehead, you were very correct that the discomfort of the ice was peaked to a quite like, oh, I don't know if I want to keep doing this. But I started noticing, as you told me to breathe, I started noticing tense muscles. My first one that I noticed, guaranteed for most women, it's going to be the same, my shoulder muscles, right leading up to my neck. When I exhale, I'm exhaling the idea of holding that tension. It's like when you are trying to melt into your bed, but it's my muscle, right? And then you started talking about it, and it made perfect sense because as soon as I did that with that, there was an active muscle that was at the top of my head that I wouldn't have never registered existed. And then there was one at the back of my shoulder blade down here. By the end of it, I'm pretty sure if I just went and laid down, I'd have a solid nap. Like I felt calm in that moment. I was locked into my body, not trapped, but locked in, like holding on to, but with loose hands, relaxed, calm. I'm going to use that like on the regular. That's fantastic.
And everyone's got it. Everyone's
Yeah.
got access.
I hope, if nothing else, people take away a curious nature at breathing, at using the strength that their body has, at just trying it. As crazy as you might feel like a fool putting an ice cube on your face and letting it drip on you. Guess what? We've done a lot more foolish things. Let's do this one and try it. Just see. Because how I feel, I'm not letting that go. I'm going to repeat that. I don't care if I look like a fool. I don't care if I'm having to share a hotel room with somebody else who's like, what the deuce you doing? I'll explain it just like I would my favorite TV show or my favorite beverage. And you have it right this second. And he just showed you how forking magical you are if you did it. If you didn't, please go back and do it. Damn, that is incredible. And that's just 2 exercises. Like
Yeah, they're my sort of front of house samplers. If people want the buffet, they can come through the doors and explore just how far you can go. And
yeah.
it's having done this for over a decade, there's no height to the experience, there's no depth to the experience. And it just gets more and more beautiful, more and more letting go of tension you just thought was normal.
Yeah.
More realizing that this here is freaking amazing. And every day I've got to put this in order. And that's the wisdom here, the understanding that every day we need to disconnect from that which is not serving us and connect into that which is. And so that to me is the thing where if you can, the wise person knows that in many ways you don't get a choice. If we don't choose to connect to our breath, connect to our amazing bodies, the choice gets made for us. The world around us goes, no, you've got to choose this.
One of my favorite things that I took away from a therapist I had, she said that the opposite of trauma is choice. And that I have found to be one of the most simplistic phrases that has the most profound truth if you really embrace that idea. Because in every moment of every day, every silly choice that you make, whether it's the socks you put on or buying the silly shoes that are frivolous, but you liked them. It doesn't matter what the choice is. Every time you choose, you're counteracting the pain. You're counteracting when you didn't. And what a beautiful way to give back to your body, who sacrificed so much for you to survive, to give it the opportunity to open itself up, to show the magic that it is with such little investment of time, energy. My challenge for anybody who's listening: if you aren't capable of doing one of these exercises a day this week, which would be my ultimate challenge, because if you can repeat something, it's through repetition that things become permanent.
Repetition restores.
Yeah. But if you can't do it every day, pick 2 days. Pick 2 days. Mark it on the calendar right now. Pull out your phone, pull out your calendar, pause the video, and pick out 2 days. And mark off 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. You can do 5 minutes twice this week. I promise. Even if you have to be on the toilet while you do it. And just be the fool that loves yourself enough to do it. And you'll slowly but surely fall in love with how magical you really are. And you'll want more without having to pressure yourself. You'll naturally start following that current like a fish, just going after it.
Yeah, your natural inner compass will turn on.
Yeah.
That warmth you get from your solar panel going, "Oh, I like this alignment, thank you." And then
Mm-hmm.
you realize elsewhere, no, it's not as good. This is the space I want to generate. I want to illuminate my house through this alignment. I want to feed into the grid with this alignment. And you're right, Rachel, what we do regularly is, and I've had trouble with habits, even though they're beneficial. But if I get like a little reminder, I'll do it, right? And so with that in mind, I'd love to be of service to those people who are wanting to sort of embrace this. I've set up this little thing that all you have to do is tell it when you want to sleep, when you want to wake up, and then it just falls out of your phone with notifications. So you just tap the notifications and it'll turn your bed into a cloud. Going to sleep, it'll turn your bed into a trampoline in the morning. Okay, so anyone with a phone, you just look up breath, go into your app store, Breathwork in bed. Okay, listeners can try it for 28 days free, so there's no impact to your pocket. You can just find out if this works. And those little notifications falling out of your phone in times when you're like, I just want to go to sleep, don't bother me, but I can tap this button. Okay, I can tap this button. I can be guided to breathe a certain way. In the morning, before you get out, there's that little notification. You tap that notification, and then you'll be guided to breathe a certain way. I find that if it's easy and effortless, I'll do it regularly, which is good. And I've gone to so many retreats, but there's so many people not in that room that need to be there. So I created the Breathwork in Bed app for people who want this but need easy access.
Yeah. Accessibility is a huge factor. In order for me to get a habit and hold on to it, I have to pair a habit with a habit I already have. And I'm going to bet money 99, if not 100% of the people who are here, one of the first things they do in the morning is check their phone, and one of the last things they do at night is put it on the charger. Right before you put your phone down, click that notification, even if it's past bedtime. And like you said in the first podcast, how you invest your energy, and in this one, how you invest your energy makes a difference. So if you tap that, even if you're exhausted, and the last thing you want to do is one more thing, take the 30 seconds, the 3 minutes, the whatever it is, try it for free, invest that energy into yourself right before you put the phone down. Just tie it in. You know what it's like to wake up, the alarm go off, and then the last thing you want to do in the world is get out of that bed. Whether it's emotions, exhaustion, kids, dread of the day, whatever it is, we've all been there where we sit there and we think the last thing I want to do is leave this nice, comfortable safety. And all you have to do is give yourself this gift that you already have within you by taking some breaths. that is literally been cultivated for you to create the best outcome for you to have the capability to face the day you're going to have to face anyway, but with the energy you didn't have a second before. Or I shouldn't say you didn't have. You did have, but you weren't allowing yourself access to. That's magic. I appreciate that well before we ever met, you existed in the world. And you had the experience and life that you had to get you to this place. Because I find it magical when a person goes through their life and sees things that are hard and lives through things that are hard. And instead of allowing it to make them drown when it is completely fair to make you feel like you're drowning, to not only somehow claw your way out of that, but then to have the heart to create that access, to have the capability to forge the path, to offer up the heart, not just the access, not just the app, but the fact that you went through the journey and came to the other side wanting to help people, but not just help people, but see the issues, see where they accept them where they are, in their busy, in their chaos, in their panic, in their fight or flight, in their survival. And give them something that's a tiny step that they can integrate with what they're already doing. And you're doing this magical, amazing transformation as an option that they didn't know existed. You're giving them access to what they already had, but they couldn't see, by giving them a simple app to just breathe and to get a tangible moment from feeling how they used to feel to a couple seconds later seeing what their body and what they are capable of. I love that you exist. I love that this app exists. And I cannot wait for every person who tries it to get addicted, getting high on their own supply. That is fantastic. Thank you so much for coming, having the first conversation. Thank you so much for coming and having this conversation right now. If you want more of Tim, Breathwork in Bed, the link will be in this description. I beg that you listen to this multiple times to really apply this breathwork. Get the app. Try it for 28 days free. What's the harm? Oh no, you have another notification. Guess what? Facebook is going to send you 1,000 and none of them matter. Okay? This does, because you matter.